Welcome to CRE Power Hour. My name is Lisa Marie Wand, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Stephanie Gillison. And we've spent the last 2 decades growing and scaling our businesses. And together, we're bringing you a new space for you to learn alongside the best in commercial real estate at CRE Power Hour. Today, our guest is Heather Taylor. She comes to us from Lone Pine, Colorado. And we're so excited to have you on the show today. Let's get right to it. Hi, Heather. Welcome. And thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well,
Heather, I got to stop right there, though, real quickly, Marie. I met Heather at Globe Street's Woman of Influence, one of the honorees as well. And I absolutely loved that event. We were just talking about it a few moments ago, but just so many different powerhouses that were at that event. And so, we love to put that space together with women in commercial real estate. And that's all you've been doing is commercial real estate.
Yeah, when I first started, got my license, I just knew that commercial was best fit for me and just kind of skipped over that whole residential piece and thought I just need to get to work, right? So that I can be knowledgeable and make this business work for myself.
So tell us how you got started. What made you decide to want to go into commercial real estate and just jump right in? Love that.
Yeah, I went to graduate school to get a job at the Broncos, which was my dream. And I had told everybody in the world I was going to work for the Broncos. Immediately after graduate school, luckily I did get hired by the Broncos. But I mean, this was many, many moons ago, but it didn't turn out to be the dream job I thought for me. It wasn't a good fit. And so I was kind of lost. I'm like, man, I just spent all that time training and planning, and now I have this job and it's not right. Like, what do I do? And so my father-in-law actually told me that, many of the commercial brokers out there were lazy and didn't pick up the phone and called people back. And he was like, if you just pick up the phone and call someone back, you can do so much business. So I was thinking, I can pick up the phone. That's easy, So I got my license, and I just knew that for myself, I could do numbers. I could figure stuff out. I felt residential was a little too emotional. People love their house and put their time and effort and energy into it. And, it might not be that great, right? But to them it is. And I just can't deal with those emotions, but I can figure out numbers and solve problems. So I felt that was the best kind of avenue for me. My husband and I are foster parents, and that's how we grew our family. And so when I went to all the big firms, and you can name it, and this was a long time ago, I think things have changed, hopefully, just with more women entering commercial real estate. But at the time, everyone said no to me when I came and said I wanted to be a broker, because I would also explain to them that, I get these random calls. I got to pick up a kid at the hospital or police station, and I got to maybe go buy a car seat or whatever I might need that I might be missing for that child to enter our family. And nobody wanted to deal with that. They were essentially saying that I would kind of be someone's secretary, which I wasn't, I wasn't going to do that. I knew that wouldn't work. So I just kind of had to create my own way. It thankfully worked out, but originally I was really scared, and I almost didn't, continue into commercial real estate because I was just thinking, this is the kind of business it is, I don't know if I want to be involved in this, but it all worked out. And I'm so thankful I kind of kept going forward and listened to my gut to make it happen. So it worked out, thankfully.
You are so brave, because your story is very similar to Stephanie and I and so many other women in commercial real estate that have that story of they got so many doors slammed in their face. And that really speaks to one of the reasons why you're our guest is you're, let's just put the word out there right away today. You're a badass, and you have that tenacity, and you knew what you wanted. So here you had spent all this time, you wanted to go work for the Denver Broncos, and you were able to acknowledge the fact that it didn't work out. Because, sometimes we can be in a situation and we just stick with it, but you were brave enough and you did a huge pivot. And so how has that worked out for you all these years? I mean, you're still doing it. I'm sure you've got some great stories. And so let's talk about some of that.
Yeah, we've had such an adventure. We have a small firm in Colorado. So there's 10 active brokers, and we have one broker that's licensed. That's kind of just kind of fills a marketing role, sort of, right? He's on our team, but not fully devoted like the other brokers. And then we have 3 admin staff. So we're small, but we work really, really hard. The majority of the brokers at our firm are female, but we do have some great men that joined us too. And we like to work on a lot of interesting or, challenging projects that maybe other firms just wouldn't put the time or effort into. So last week we just closed the casino that we got to work on in Central City. And that was just a really interesting road. It was super fun to always visit, Central City. Each time I went up, I would gamble a little. I thought, it was God telling me I needed to put some money on the table, but I didn't win. But we did sell the casino, and it was just a good ride. We worked with Central City. That's who ended up owning the casino. It was gifted to them by the owner during COVID. And so they had this time period where they had to hold the property and then they could sell starting September of this year. And so we got it right under contract and got it to closing. And it was just fun to see that come all the way to fruition, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And CoStar just covered that too, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think because it was such a unique sale and, kind of sat there while Central City had to hold it, they couldn't operate it as a casino. So it just kind of sat there and everyone kind of wondered what was happening, what was going to go on. It used to be the old Bullwhackers casino. So people knew it and loved it. And it was just kind of starting to turn like an eyesore since it was just shut down. So it worked out great for everybody in the end. And now we got to have a big celebration and hopefully we'll be able to visit it soon. They don't have to do too many changes to it, but they do need to bring it up and open it back up because it was winterized and everything like that. So it'll be just a little bit, but then it should be up and running and super fun to visit.
Awesome. Awesome. Heather, how long have you been in the business now?
It's been about 15 years.
15 years. Wow. It's so tremendous because I meet so many of us that we share that same story. No firm wanted to take us. So we all had to just kind of pave our own way and build our own road, so to speak. So talk to everybody, because we get a lot of listeners that they come, they listen, they want to be inspired. They want to know that, hey, there's a career too that they can build for their path. So kind of speak to, how you jumped into it, but how did you really get started? How did you brand? How did you, pick up clients? All of those things.
Yeah. So I found an individual that was leaving CBRE and, here in Colorado, we have to hang our license with somebody for 2 years to kind of mentor us and teach us the ropes. So he was amazing. He taught me so much, but I didn't have anything. So what I would do is take his listings, and sometimes this doesn't work today after COVID. It's so weird, but I would take his listings and print off those brochures and I would hand deliver them in that city to every place I could go. And I would just say to them, hey, I wanted to make sure you knew about this opportunity. Do you have any friends or family members starting their business or growing their business that might need commercial real estate? And I think just walking in and talking to people, I would get some really crazy stories, but also I would meet people that needed space. And I even met landlords that would initially call me pretty angry that I was, in their center handing out flyers. But I would tell them, if you let me work for you, then I would do the same for you too. And that just slowly, morphed into business. So like one landlord said, well, I have this space to fill. If you can fill it in 2 months, then you can work on all my shopping centers. Thank goodness it worked out. I put a little dog grooming person group company in that space. And then I got all of his listings. That was my first ever kind of like listing portfolio that I got to take on. And it just kept going, handing those out. There was a shopping center closing kind of close to where I lived. And so I would just hang out there all the time, hand out flyers. They had a security guard that, would tell me I have to leave multiple times. We knew each other's name. I was just like, hey, I'm not soliciting. I'm handing out information that might be useful to people. So never got arrested, which was good. And I'm here today. So it worked out.
I love that. I love that because when agents new to the business or really trying to break into to maybe this industry, they're coming from residential, they're always like, I can't land business. And my question back is, well, what have you done to try? Just share it with me. And, you know, because we get into this business, you know, you had a good mentor that you were able to meet and partner up with, but you know, you learned by doing, and you had to put yourself in a position to be able, you know, just like the landlord calling saying, hey, get off my property, don't solicit. Then you land them as a client. Like, that's what you have to do. You have to take risks. You got to put yourself out there. And you started off today by saying, answering the phone. I always tell everyone, you know, the men or whoever that I, you know, took over some business for because they were lazy. It wasn't because I knew more than them. It was because I worked harder than them. And that's how I was able to land those clients. So that's awesome.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it just takes, it's sometimes scary, and you know, sometimes doubt yourself, right? Am I doing the right thing? And, you know, you start questioning yourself, but it ends up usually paying off in the end. So you just got to kind of stay strong and listen to yourself. Like, I can do this. It's okay. You know, and it usually
No
works
fear.
out.
Don't be scared. Yeah.
Yeah. I think too, now we've had great success with social media. So that's been one of our big things too. And what's kind of nice about it is if you have a broker who's a little nervous, they can sort of hide behind, you know, their phone or the computer screen and still do the marketing, but, you know, take it a little slower than just kind of walking in places. I walked in the place, I was training a broker, and I'm like, you know, we just hand these out. We walked in this, it was a like flex industrial building, and everybody was having nap time on cots. So you see some of the weirdest things and you question yourself. You're like, what am I doing here? Where are we at? But you also like learn like, oh, I guess people get to take naps sometimes. I don't know. So you just get to meet lots of people, see their business, and it usually never is a bad story, right? It's usually, oh my goodness, you want to know what I saw today, you know, kind of story.
I can picture you being new in commercial real estate with your stack of flyers. Sounds like you went to different maybe retail centers, shopping centers, you know, different Main Street businesses, dropping off these flyers. And you know, I mentor quite a few commercial real estate agents across the United States, and I'm always talking to them about being fearless and doing stuff like that, because what's the worst thing that can happen? Yeah. Someone says no, or like you know, you're like, I didn't get arrested. And then, you know, you meet up with these guys sleeping on these cots. You can just gently lay the flyer right on top of them. So when they wake up, hey, I think it's awesome. It's brave. And that's one of the qualities that's necessary. I know Stephanie would agree, in order to be successful in this business. Especially after you had a lot of brokerages tell you no.
Oh, yeah. And I would say, too, what's interesting is, you know, today, what makes it a little different after COVID is I'll hand them this flyer, and some of them, I don't know if they still believe like COVID is on the flyer or whatever, but so many people won't take it. So that's why it makes it a little different today. Sometimes you have to have something on that flyer, right, that makes them want to keep it. So sometimes
like a bagel.
Yeah, that could work. But even just, you know, hey, we're going to have a free barbecue, a neighborhood barbecue, you know, at this property, or sometimes we have small business events or something like that. So not just the property information, but something else that would make them want to share it with the office or keep a hold of it and not put it in the trash can and then add some hand sanitizer.
Yeah, that's interesting with interacting with people after COVID. You're right. You do have to get creative in order to be able to connect with people physically in person. And so that's a great idea to do. I'm a big fan of events too, and do barbecue or put candy, you know, something. That's great.
Yeah.
Talk to us about your
things. So embarrassing to share. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, do it.
My computer's about to die. I have to run to my office. I think that this just kind of, I don't know, this beautiful power hour is draining my computer. So I'm so sorry. I need to run real quick and just grab my charger. All
right. We'll improv, Heather. Okay. We're going to talk. We're going to talk about what's going on out there in the market. And when you get back, we want to talk about your market too, and what's happening, and what you're seeing. So you grab that charger, okay?
That sounds good. I'll be right back. Thank you.
So, Stephanie, speaking of picking up the phone, okay, it's the holidays, so we have all this extra pressure on us of things we need to do, events we need to go to. So yesterday I had convinced myself I was going to leave the office at 5 p.m. exactly. Everybody else is gone. I'm the only one here, and my phone rings, and I picked it up. And it was a guy calling about one of our listings, a retail shopping center that we have listed. And in the back of my mind, I'm going, I gotta go. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm just going to take a deep breath. We ended up talking about 2 of the properties that we have listed because this guy has some money to spend. It is the end of the year, right? And people are wanting to close some deals. So I ended up staying and talking to the guy for half an hour. He was super appreciative. And the other thing is I've been talking to my agents about having this mentality of it's not vacation for the rest of the year. This is a time to double down because you can close deals before December 31st, or you can at least get some transactions in process. And so many people in real estate just decide to take a vacation. And, I have agents here 2 to 4 hours a day, cold calling. I'm on the phone. What do you think? I think this is the season
100%. People ask me, though, I just had this conversation this morning and yesterday. Are you taking any time off between? And I said, yes, Christmas Day and probably New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, Christmas Eve, but for the rest of it, we're working because right now is that time of opportunity. Right now, we're dealing with some situations, and this is going to happen a lot in commercial real estate this year, and also businesses. And Heather's husband's a phenomenal SBA lender, so he can really speak to this. But, people got COVID relief money over the course of the last 3 years. And guess what's coming due, you all? That money. Like, they're having to start to pay it back. Our business is ready to pay it back. I'm a weirdo. I get up at 3:30, 4 o'clock a.m. and I turn on the news. And this is what I learned about this morning by getting up that early and watching the CNBC Money Station is that, these businesses aren't ready to start paying back that money. What are they going to do? So right now is that time of opportunity. And so what we're doing and working in our team is focusing on those. How can we be of service and be able to utilize that knowledge, pick up the phone and just do a wellness check on our clients, right? Do a wellness check on tenants, do a wellness check on business owners. We're not calling seeking a listing necessarily, but when you do a wellness check, one, you can wish them happy holidays, do a wellness check, but also help them with their 2023 strategy. And what does that mean? And so that's what I would spend, because you knock out 3 things in one call. Wellness check, because you show you care, happy holidays, and what's your 2023 plan and how can I be of assistance? Boom. Mic drop. Really like Heather, welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back, Heather. I really like the 2023 plan strategy. Remember during COVID, I spent all day, every day doing those wellness checks with my clients because so many deals, fell out because the banks got scared. We didn't know what tomorrow was going to bring. It's as Tony Robbins says, winter is our season because there's a lot of opportunity when things start to get cold and dark. And I agree with you. But I like that, hopefully there are some commercial real estate professionals out there watching us or watching our replay that take that opportunity to say, hey, not only happy holidays and how are you? And what's your strategy for 2023? And we're here to help you if you need it. So that's great. I like it.
Yeah, Heather, what are you doing? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I take that too. So many times we do a lease, let's say it's just a simple lease, and in the lease, it says that the tenant has to notify the landlord 90 days before they renew, right? Or something like that. And so many times we forget about that and we just think about, oh, the lease is expiring. But we really try to focus at our firm on that 90 days before. And we reach out to the landlord and be like, hey, don't forget, remember when we signed that lease, they need to notify you. Are they staying? Are they going? And what we found is that most people forget about it, right? That they even needed to get notice, right? They're just thinking about that end date of that lease. So what we usually end up having is many people that are leaving, and then that gives us 3 months to market the property before that landlord is out a tenant and out money. And they're usually very appreciative. And it seems like so many people miss that little window. And so we really try to stay on that year round. And the landlords just seem so appreciative. But, now is the great time to catch up on those too. Even if it's just, hey, in 3 months, then they need to notify you in 3 months. Even that gets them going too. So if you only have time to fit it in now, then it's a good time to do it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and on the tenant side too, even if you represented the landlord, you could also reach out to the tenant. And so do you put those on your calendar? Because, one of the challenges I know a lot of agents have is staying organized and tracking everything. So do you set those up, like when you do the lease, those dates in the calendar or somewhere for someone to follow up?
Yeah, just in my Outlook calendar, I'll set it up the second that we do the lease so that, I don't forget, because I will forget too, right? If I don't have a calendar reminder, and it's just a little crazy. So usually once a lease is done, no matter who I'm representing, the landlord or the tenant, I follow up with everybody 1 month after they move in, right? Just what's up, everything okay, can I help with anything? And then I also have those other future reminders too. So all that happens at the time that I do the lease. So I don't forget later.
That's a great strategy for staying organized, because so many agents, it's proven through the statistics that are out there, they're going from transaction to transaction and forgetting to stay in flow with their clients over time. And you just have to do so much more work, right, in order to run your business that way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I even had a guy, when I was cold calling, that's what we call handing out the flyers, right? And I met him and he sat and talked with me forever, how his son was taking over, and then their lease was up in, 2022 at the end. So I did that same calendar thing. I talked to him the other day. Of course, he didn't remember me. I was just a random person walking in, right? But I was like, hey, remember I visited you a couple of years ago and you told me your son was taking over. Did he take over? How'd that go? Are you looking to buy something now? And he was so astonished that I had remembered all that. I didn't. I typed it in my, calendar reminder, all the notes that I had from talking with him. And now we have a new client. So it's super simple. And people just want to know that they were heard and listened to. And, then they're very appreciative that somebody cares after a while.
That's a really great story.
And that is a great story. And I want to share this because, COVID's changed a little bit of things, right? I mean, but my son, who's 23, he's just now in the business, and he landed something pretty darn big and brand new, well, it's been a year, and he's had closings and stuff, but he landed something pretty big. When I said, well, how'd you get that? He goes, I walked in. I go, you did what? And I loved it. So if anybody's out there going, oh, that's old school, nobody walks into anything anymore. Well, my 23-year-old new to this business did, and landed a pretty darn big thing that, any of us would have loved to have listed as well too, because nothing's too, it's great. So I love that. And I do think, you just having that relationship and then keeping notes, that's what you have to do, because it's all in the follow-up, right?
Yeah. For sure. And kind of like, I love how he just, went in, like you said, and how we mentioned it's usually not going to be bad. No one's going to be super mean to you, because people just aren't mean to each other to their face usually. So then you kind of build up that confidence slowly, right? And then it just becomes easier and easier each time you do it. So that's great.
Well, it was funny because when he just walked in and asked for the owner, who was older, much older, probably, getting ready to retire, which is why he's selling. He said, people still do this. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
People still do this. I'm impressed, right? Because so many people don't do that anymore.
Yep. Yeah. And then you kind of got to not ruin that follow through too, right? So you make that good impression and then you want to keep it going. So making sure you continue that follow up, however that conversation went, finishing it up with email or a call later or whatever it might be. So that follow through is important too.
Yeah, and one of my trademarks, and I teach all my agents, is handwritten notes, because that's another thing. Like, people still do those, and so we usually have a stack of handwritten notes that go out of our office every day. I keep, plenty of stationery stamps, all that stuff, and I think I wrote 4 yesterday. But it's the power of the pen, it's the power of the follow up, it's the power of the phone. And that's what it takes to be successful and remain successful in this business. And that's why we have you on the show today. So Heather, you want to talk to us about what's going on in your market?
Things are changing quite a bit, especially in downtown Denver. We have a lot of office buildings being converted to multifamily. They're trying to find a way to continue supporting the entertainment and retail that's really the heart of downtown, right? We had so many people kind of move out to the burbs or move their business out or work from home. And so there needs to be something to bring them back. And so we have been converting those, and they've been expediting those permits. So that's pretty interesting to see how much is changing. It takes a little bit to do that conversion, but the retailers are going to be able to kind of go back to full hours. So right now, many of them are still kind of shortened hours. And with that influx of people that everybody's hoping for, then they'll be able to reopen to full capacity and help that way. I mean, we've also had, unfortunately, a lot of homeless. And when you don't have the streets busy with people and businesses open, then that's kind of what comes after it, right? So it's just reactivating those downtown areas and making it welcoming to families and getting those retail and entertainment venues open full time has been a big push for sure.
Heather, I was in Denver in May for the International Business Broker Association conference. Mm-hmm. And I think it was at the big Hilton or Hyatt that's there. And one of my favorite hotels, because I travel a lot, and I love the Brown Palace, which I've stayed at before. And that's famous because I think every president except for 2 has stayed at the Brown Palace. But I remember we did a lot of walking around in downtown Denver because I love it down there. We took the pedicab and did all this stuff, and it looked like there was a lot of transition happening. And I like the idea of bringing more multifamily into the downtown core to attract more people. That's great.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And the other thing they did too, only 2 cities so far, Aurora and Denver. No one wants to, everybody wants to help the homeless. No one wants to just push them out of the way, right? But there has to be rules and how we can handle that. So there have been some rules and laws put into place where nobody, homeless or not, can be sleeping on the ground or a bench. So that was kind of their rule. If you're sleeping, then you need to be moved. And so we do have a lot of people then now getting pushed to the suburbs. But many of those police departments here and stuff like that have the mental health capacity to help them, which is great because Denver just didn't have the staff and the capacity to help them. So they are getting pushed out, but now also getting the help so that hopefully, their homelessness is shortened. So that's good too. And we've been seeing a big change because of that as well.
We had the same thing here in Reno. I lived in the downtown core in a luxury high-rise condominium for many years and during COVID. And then all of a sudden, like you said, the streets are completely quiet. Then, of course, the homeless people that don't really have anywhere else to go, or some of the people that are up to no good just kind of took over. And then it's this self-fulfilling kind of loop because then nobody wants to go down there and on and on and on. So Northern Nevada, we've had to come up with some solutions for homeless and indigent people as well, because like you said, I've moved out of that downtown core now into the suburbs, and I'm seeing exactly what you're talking about. And so we've put in some money and some structures for people that don't have somewhere to go, that they can get follow-up care as well as, someplace to sleep at night. So that I'm glad to hear that, because that's part of the revitalization of our cities is post-pandemic is dealing with some big issues like this.
Yeah, for sure. What, Heather, what's something that your goals for 2023? We're right around the corner from a new year. What is something you're now going to implement in your business that you haven't done in the past? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, so one of our big pushes, and it's just been kind of hard to get this all the way that we wanted to, but we're really on a mission to make this kind of part of our stance, right? Impact was named Impact because we want to make an impact on the community and small businesses. And so we've been doing that, but now we really want to also help those nonprofits. So a lot of times they get kind of left behind or feel like they don't know what to do. So we just recently helped a group called Rooted 303, and they help a lot of individuals that have gone through recovery. So they're already done. But what would happen is so many of those landlords would just hear recovery, right? And not where they're at in that process. And so not want them in their building or different things like that. So we're trying to get creative and finding ways to make the landlords feel comfortable having them in the building, but also finding good homes so these nonprofits can be successful and, profitable for the people that need their services. So that's one of our focuses and goals going forward for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So as it relates to, because you're pretty, I'm going to say a generalist, right? I think all of us are a generalist, especially, in our markets and so forth. But going forward in 2023, is there any new tools or any new innovation or any new ways that you're going to, aside from, helping these organizations to expand your business?
So I don't know, but we're told we have a social media expert that kind of guides us. And I'm told I need to get on TikTok. I don't know how I feel about this just yet.
I'm in your boat. I'm in your same boat because I don't.
Yes.
My girls. I have two girls. My kids, and they set me up on TikTok. I'm like, I just started getting all this random notification stuff, so I took it off my phone. So
Yeah. I mean, some of the rules that you have to follow are so interesting. Like this individual was coaching us, telling us, yes, you're going to do business videos, right? That's the whole reason I would do it. But she's like, you have to also do the trending videos. So when I was taking this class, at the time, the trending video was this Western song, and you would run through the streets holding something randomly. And so I'm like, so I need to also do those videos, but I guess the algorithm needs to see those trending videos that you're part of the trend to then boost your other videos. So I don't know. It's a lot, but maybe as a group here, we can
maybe help each other out. There is a guy in the commercial space. We need to have him on the show. We do. He has mastered TikTok, from what I understand. He's doing 100% of his commercial real estate business on TikTok. He's in the Northeast. I'm not going to say who he is yet, but this is all he's doing is TikTok. And so that's what made me think, okay, I need to get on it. I don't know. It's just something about it. I've got this awesome person that helps us behind the scenes, my marketing coordinator, Daisha. So Daisha, put that on the list. Stephanie, Daisha, TikTok, I guess.
Daisha's also our amazing producer of the show. So she makes all of us look great. Well, Heather, I'm going to be watching on TikTok to see you running through the streets.
I'm going to relog in. I'm going to relog in just so I can see you, Heather, running through the streets,
so funny.
holding something to Western music. I love it.
And it's one of the interesting things, because I love social media, and I'm known in the commercial real estate space as really being active on social media. I teach classes about commercial real estate and business brokering and social media. And it's interesting to me how each of these platforms has unique algorithms. And then just when you think you've got it figured out, it changes. New.
Yeah.
And so social media keeps us on our toes. It keeps us connected, and it keeps us plugged into what's going on. And then it also really is, for me anyway, a good stretch as far as like what you're talking about. TikTok it's on my list for this year too. I see all those funny dances and stuff, and I'm like, I'm not sure I don't want to have social proof of that when I'm like 20 years from now that I was doing all these funny dances and stuff, but here we go.
I will give this one tip because there was somebody in the class that was saying they put together, their business, TikTok page, right? And that whenever they would try and do those trending videos that also came with the trending music, they were getting shut down. Like it wasn't going live or whatever you want to call it. I wish I had all the technology or terminology, sorry. But then we found out that if you are going to do that, right, which is kind of key to the algorithm, you have to only have a personal page. Because if you're doing a commercial page and using, commercial music that's licensed, then you're going to get flagged each time. But if you're just a person doing it, right, and maybe you have a nickname like, I don't know, Best Broker, I don't know, something, right? But it's a personal page, then it'll never get shut down.
That is such a good tip. I think that's a great way to end our show with that great TikTok tip. Okay, Stephanie, you and I are just going to have some sort of TikTok contest. No fair, Daisha. Don't play favorites, okay?
Daisha's not a TikTok fan. That I know. We like LinkedIn and, the old school stuff, Instagram, Facebook, but that's what we have to do in order to stay relevant, right? I mean, we've got to get uncomfortable. That's what I call it. It's time to get uncomfortable and it's time to dive into something else. It's no different than the first time I walked into somebody's building or walked into, somebody's business. I was uncomfortable, but it worked out in the end. So you just got to dedicate and get rid of the excuses, right? We can all make an excuse of why we're not doing anything. But when we all sit around and see someone else or the competition passes by and they're on TikTok and we're not, then that kind of, makes an example out of us, right?
Yeah. Yep. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable and there's no excuses in commercial real estate, people. So thank you so much, Heather, for joining us today. CRE Power Hour is recorded live on the second and fourth Wednesday of each month. Please check us out on YouTube and at crepowerhour.com. If you're interested in finding out more about a career in commercial real estate, reach out to us and schedule a strategy session soon. Email us at info@crepowerhour.live, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Heather.
Thanks, Heather.
Bye.